Okay. Now can you hear me? Hello. Helps. I don't do this enough to know what I'm doing. So you should be able to hear me now, correct? Hey, Randall. Move. Bing.
Good.
Oh, Randall, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good.
I'm just picking some stuff up I spilled here in the van.
I'm playing around with my Panel Pro.
Let me turn the radio down here. You can probably hear it in the background. So.
Yeah, a little bit. Slide this over some more.
If I could ever figure out how to get my camera turned back on, I'm actually at work right now, so.
He says, Anthony says he's watching you on the TV right now.
Yeah, there you go.
So why are you on the TV? Or is he just watching the stream on a TV?
He may just be watching the stream on TV because my camera doesn't work right at the present time.
All right. I'm just playing around working on my expansion, my phase 2 of my Panel Pro. Got it where all these switches now work. I'm in the edit mode. If I go out of edit, it gets rid of a lot of the junk. So there you see all the yellow circles. You just get your mouse in there. And I've got a remote mouse. So
how big is that expansion going to be?
well, it's done.
It's done. Okay.
Yeah, I just have to put the panel, the diagram portion,
okay,
in so that, well, I'll show you here in a second. All right, I'll get this back to the way it was. And so now you should see a picture of me and of the panel, correct?
Yeah, I see both of it.
Okay, so I can get up, and I'm going to change my camera over to different camera. Nope, not that one. I'll show you what does that one there, and I'll flip it around. Okay, so I can be on the other side of the layout, and utilizing this remote mouse, I can change switches. Like, you see where the mouse button is on the diagram?
I can see probably about half of the diagram on there.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
see the mouse.
That's
I can't
right.
see the mouse.
I'll go over to the right. All right, now can you see the mouse? The hand?
No.
It'll be on the right-hand side of that diagram. Over here. Oh.
I might can see it. I don't know.
I've enlarged my mouse so that I can see it. Let me see if I can make this bigger.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I'm actually using my phone, so it may be a little harder to see than.
I'll make it bigger. You'll be able to see it.
Okay, yeah, I see it now.
All right. Now what I'll do is, can't see the whole diagram. Well, I can shrink myself down some. How's that? This is one end of the panel. So I can come over to the other end of the room, and with my mouse, okay, you see the mouse now?
Yeah, I see it now.
All right, I can throw the switch right here.
Okay.
All right, see how the position changed on the panel? And this switch here and this one here. Oh, uh-oh. Somebody did something.
I'm gonna have to mute myself, Steve. Hang on.
That's fine. And anyway, these two switches are tied together, so you throw one and you throw them both. Okay. Just so the train has a through route. Otherwise, you throw one, and if you forgot to throw the other one, you derail. So they're interlocked. And the same thing with both ends of my Union Station here. So anyway, that's the whole idea of why I wanted this Panel Pro. There's a lot of switches that once completed, I won't be able to see. Like most of these switches up here in my Van Buren yard, I won't be able to see. Once Chicago, which is in this area, once all the buildings are in there. So by having this diagram, all right, I can see the status of the switches and control them. And again, both ends of these yard lines are tied together. They're interdependent on each other. So anyway, that's the whole idea behind Panel Pro here. Now, Panel Pro will do a lot of other things. You know, it does operations. I've already entered all my rolling stock and located them on the layout, because that will allow me to run operations. Let's see. Oh, hello, JD and Nissy. Train fan. Boy, I missed a lot of people. Let's see, JD, train fan. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just fiddle farting around today, and how do you do? What's the difference? What's that one do? Okay, that just makes everybody smaller. Go back to that one. Actually, I can go to that one. Alright. And Randall is back again?
Yeah, I had to take a phone call. Sorry, Steve.
That's okay. I'll remove your other one. Not a problem. Okay, there. And yeah, I heard a train in the background. And
there's no trains out here at the present time.
Oh, what do you do? Is that your ringer?
Yeah, that was my
Ringtone?
yeah.
So I've been working on. I've added a couple switches in here today. I started on this panel on Friday and had no experience using it. Watched some YouTube videos, and the biggest thing I learned was make sure you save your work often. There's some certain things that if you do wrong will shut down JMRI, and the only way to get it back is to restart your computer. Okay, at least that's the only way I can find it. So I lost a bunch of work and had to start over. So if you're going to do this, make sure you save, or what they call it in JMRI is store. Okay, store your work often. Anyway, I'll put another switch in here. And first of all, I need to change it back over to the edit mode. And I am going to add a Y. Is that a Y? I should look at my actual layout and see what I have there. It is actually another left-hander. All right, so I need to add a left hand. And I gotta give it its name. It is staging entry. Split 1 and 2. I believe that's the one I want. And I'm gonna put it here. Drag it down. And connect it there. Okay. And next one I want is a left in, and I want it to be staging split 2. And hit shift. Drag it down to here. I want to rotate that. Rotate it minus 15. There I go. Put it. And I need an end bumper. I need here. There. Anybody gets any questions as we're going, just let me know.
I was just curious, how many tracks have you got there?
I putting in 5 staging tracks.
Okay.
These are the first 2. Okay, these are I've put the 2 end bumpers in. Now I can put a track segment.
So it's not set up like a yard. It don't have switches at both ends, does it?
No, not the staging. Okay, this is off layout, so to speak. They represent one represents New York City.
Okay.
One represents LA. One represents Minneapolis, and 2 represent Burlington destinations to the west, like Denver, maybe Omaha.
Okay.
So that way I can, as an example, I have 2 trains, 2 passenger trains that shuttle back and forth between LA and Chicago. I have the Super Chief and the Union Pacific City of Los Angeles. Okay. And so one can be at its either running or in a depot, one of the 2 depots in Chicago. We got Union Station, I got Van Buren Street Station. The Union Pacific would go into Union Station. The Santa Fe would actually go into Old Dearborn Street Station, but I don't have that, so it goes into Van Buren. So they can shuttle the different trains on and off the layout. Does that make sense? Switch this one to.
Yeah. You don't have a California Zephyr train, or is that still in the works?
Yeah, I got that too.
Oh, okay.
All right, that would be to one of the Burlington offsite destinations,
Okay.
or Union Station. Right now, it's in Union Station.
Okay.
But it would run around the layout and then go to Denver.
I get you. Okay.
And then the Northern Pacific, North Coast Limited, come out of Minneapolis and come to Union Station. And then when I do that, then the Burlington Blackhawk would leave Union Station and go to Minneapolis. So there's a constant shuttle of trains. Once I build the schedule, then it'll be apparent.
So you basically have it where, like, okay, California Zephyr leaves at X time, and the other Burlington passenger train leaves at X time, and so on,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any layout schedules. They'll have it laid out in a graph type form, and it'll go from here, from point A to point B, and it'll take a certain amount of time. And as you lay it out in a graph type format, then you can see what trains are going to be on the layout at any given time and where they're approximately going to be. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll get down in that detail, but I'll have something along those lines, just so when you're running operations on the freight side of things, you'll know what passenger trains are running at the same time. That have to be that you have to add some interest to switching operations.
Yeah, our club, the club layout's actually pretty straightforward. You just basically set your trains on the track and go. We don't really do the scheduling stuff on it, so.
Right, that's just like open running.
Yeah,
versus operation. Yes, hey Manny, and happy Labor Day to everybody as well. So anyway, now I want to connect these 2 tracks down to their bumpers. So I'm going to do a track segment, and start with this one. I hit the shift key and left click and drag over here. Bumper. I do the same thing. This one. That's 2 out of the 5 staging tracks. Okay. And like I say, all of these switches are addressed. If I didn't show it before, let me show you the tools table turnouts. So you enter all of your turnouts into a table like this one, right? And you can see the addressing. Flip them over. Start at the top. At Union Station LT2 is local net turnout 2. Right? Enter Union Station. Well, that would be the switch right here, which is also tied to that switch. Now, in the old days, you would simply wire these both in and give them the same address, give them both LT2. JMRI does not allow you to do that. But unfortunately, I had already addressed them that way. So I had to go back and readdress all the switches down at this end.
Okay.
And then interlock them to the corresponding switch at the other end.
Now, just to tell you that JMRI, that's a whole new thing for me, because well, technically I don't even use switches. We just use 2 loops and run the trains on. So I don't even use DCC switches. So I'm a little bit in the dark when it comes to that new stuff, the JMRI. So,
yeah, this is way beyond what I anticipated when I started all this. But as I watch more and more YouTube videos, I said, "Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool." And as I mentioned, there's a lot of places, that or switches that I would have a hard time seeing. Once everything's scenic and everything, that I'd have a hard time seeing. And the whole idea of having this panel is now I can see the status of it, like this switch right here, which is literally, an arm's reach away from me. But my computer monitor sits between me and that switch, so I can't see it. But I can see this panel and the status of that switch. Okay. And like I showed you earlier, I can be on the other side of the room and use my remote pointer mouse and throw any one of the switches. Hey, Jason, what's shaking? How's you and the family doing? Yeah, Nissy, well, I don't know if it's going to make ops easier, but it's going to make it easier for me, that's for sure. It's a little bit of work on the front side, and that's the thing. If you got all this power of DCC at your fingertips, a little module, and I forget how much they cost, a PR4 and Digitrax, to tie into the computer, and now you've unleashed all the power of JMRI. And Nissy, as an example, I think your Zephyr has that plug-in connection built into it. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Have you done the paneling yet, Jason? Have you started working on that to match as you progress? I know you're using.
I was just saying, sorry, I had to mute myself again.
Oh, that's fine. On the operation side, it gives you the switch list. It makes up your train. You put in the trains. Like as an example, your freight trains. I'll have a Denver Manifest Freight. I'll have a Lockport local. I'll have a Eola local, those will run between yards and local switching businesses, and then bring it back to the yard and makes up the like the Denver Manifest Freight. And I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to the point of figuring out how do you make them load or unload your rolling stock. It may be automatic based upon what cars it accepts. It may just automatically flip the load status. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. But anyway, it'll make up your trains randomly based upon the routes that you have for your trains. Okay, so the switching ops will vary, almost infinitely depending on what you're rolling.
Sorry, that was my scanner going off. Somebody's alive out there.
So, well, yeah, you don't have to use curve screens, but I wanted to make it look more like what my actual was. Early, heck, it's just after 11 a.m. my time.
It's 10:04 on my side.
Hey, Z. So I got those two in. Now it's time to do some more. I need another right hand. That. And this one is going to be the staging. Yeah, is this one or the three? Find out. So, all right. So I got look at the switches. I throw this to make sure I have the right one. This is supposed to be that one. I know how to tell. All right. So the first one was 335. What's the description on 35? Staging split. Yes, that's what I wanted. Okay, I got the right one. And I need to rotate it. Minus 15, I think. I don't want to rotate another 15. Oh. More to it. Back segment. So the next thing I need is other 3 and 4. Here. Couple bumpers.
Hey, Steve, I'll be back in just a second. I got to run in the depot here for a minute.
All righty.
I'll just go ahead and leave it on. So.
All right. Draw that in. Finally, I need a right-hander. It will be team. Do that. 30. Track segment. Next thing I need is a hand sower. Name it. Have. That's why. This one is not wired up yet, so it doesn't have an address yet. Get it? This one. Track segment. Left hand. This one is center. It's 15. It's 30. Okay. Let's go ahead.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. Let's do an anchor point. Here. Track segment. Back on the main line. We want to make it a main line. Two. Okay. See how Y is a Y. This one is Other side. Center to outer inner. It's that one there. I don't want to flip. Track segment. All right. Now, what did I miss? Oh, Derek Alexander. What did I miss? Bunch of highs. Yeah, if it wasn't for Anthony, I would have never gone live. I forgot to hit the go live button. I'm sitting here talking away. Of course, until you go live, you can't hear anything. But I kept asking Anthony, "How come you can't hear me?" Finally, Anthony said, "Well, you gotta go live first." Oh, okay.
Hello, Anthony Dodge and the Jason the Train Freak and Z Fancy Trains. I had to go back into my comments here.
So now I need another right hand. And this one, lock, expansion outer. Team track. Backward expansion to center. So and now I want to put at 90. How much of this isn't? Alright, so I'm going to put an anchor point. Track segment. Tander. Center to inner or outer. Put that minus 90. Track segment. Connecting. And let's put anchor. Since Jason doesn't like curves, skip curves. That one. Now, how much this stuff's not going to work, or I have to invert. So, it's not hooked up yet. It's hooked up, but it's not in place. Let's check this one out. Let's see what it looks like. To center. What's it showing here? Get my mouse. Okay, so that one needs to be inverted. Okay. Right now, the diagram shows it going straight across, but it actually goes towards the center. So this is switch 20, let's see, 21, 23, 27. So switch number. Outer to center. Okay, it's this one here. So I need to invert that. Now, let's see what it does. It's showing going straight. And it's showing going straight. All right, so that one's correct. Hey, Lee, how you doing? I'm focused. Who's focused? Me? Yeah, Jason's backdrops look awesome. Talks amongst yourself for a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'll be right back. Steve, what? What? Other Steve or me? What, Jason? Oh, basement. Now I see you.
It's about time, man. I've been down here for like 15 minutes.
Sorry. It's funny because as I was up there doing the diagram, I'm thinking to myself, man, I need to get Jason shouldn't be working. He should be home. I said, I need to bring him up here. I thought about it. I never even looked at the basement. Jeez.
Yeah, you were so focused, and then what's funny is like, soon as I pressed the enter button to let you know that I was in the basement, you're like, "Hey, I'm fixing to step away. Talk among yourselves." And so, like, what the heck, Steve? Come on now. Well, happy Labor Day to you, bud.
Happy Labor Day to you. Now, have you started on any of this side of Panel Pro? Okay.
I've even got block detection working on the small portion that I have created. Here, I'll share it with you real quick.
Yeah. I'm not set up for that yet. What, do I have to add a second U to it?
Yeah, you gotta add a second me to it. There you go.
Okay.
Let's see if I can grab my throttle real quick.
Now, see, I'll have to go in and modify some of my wiring to be able to do this with the sensors.
Yeah. So everywhere so this is how mine is set up. It's basically just like, a dispatcher at headquarters would see.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, as I add more on the layout, then, more things will be added. But I'm actually got to change a few things, like where it says Wiener DPT. I'm changing that up. I'm actually going to take that out. And then where it says Wiener Industrial, there's actually more turnouts within that section. But because it's not on the main line, I don't want the dispatcher to have control of it. So that's where the toggle buttons come into play for whoever's switching out that industrial area.
Okay.
But basically, the black means there's no block detection there. White means that the track is vacant. And that would be as far as like right now locomotives, because I don't have resistor wheel sets on all my rolling stock.
Now, do you really have to have it on all? Wouldn't it be enough to have it on your locos and whatever you're in, like in my case, cabooses or observations?
So the reason being, like if you're doing actual freight operations, if you're doing a passenger train, let me backtrack. If you're doing a passenger train, I would probably only put it on like one car midway and then the last car, because you're not breaking that up. And,
So that if it went between two blocks.
Right. It's showing both occupied.
Right. Okay.
So what I'm fixing to do is I'm actually going to run a train. It's just a locomotive and caboose.
Huh?
Now, track one is going to stay occupied because I have like two other locomotives on it right now. So it's going to show that it's occupied. But I got to do my startup sequence first. And you might hear it. You might not.
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay. So I've actually got the next block all wired up together. So as it gets on the turnout, you're going to start seeing that next section light up red. And that's because I just have it as one block. And that's actually the feeder track from the layout to staging.
Huh?
That, I just made it one whole block, because the thing is you're not going to want more than one train in that area.
Okay.
But
now,
keep going.
on your track 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
there, do you have isolation switches to cut power to those sections when the train's not in use?
No, I don't.
And my follow-up question would have been, okay, if you do and you isolate those sections, how does block detection would it know? But it doesn't matter because. Okay, now you got me confused.
So the train is still moving. So now it's located over between Wiener Loop and Wiener Industrial.
Uh-huh.
And it's picking up some dirty track. Oops, I forgot to throw a switch. So actually, I just ended up picking up a cut of cars. I don't know if y'all can see it.
So how come track 4 is still showing occupied?
You mean track 1?
Is that track 1? Okay, track 1.
That's because I have two other locomotives sitting on it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I just accidentally picked up a cut of cars I did not mean to pick up. I forgot to throw a switch. And so this is the cool part. Let me go back into my panel because I forgot to do all of this. Now this is going to look a little better. All right, so now I've got all my turnouts throwed properly. So that's why now you're starting to see like breaks in the line, like over at Wiener Industrial or part of the Wiener Loop. So that way you can actually see how the track is actually lined up. That's one of the things that, I typically leave this computer on, but we had a power outage over the night. Like a little small surge.
Yeah, and when you fire it back up, it doesn't know what the status of the switch
Turnouts are. That's correct.
Now,
Unless you use like NCE's mini panel, but I'm just using the Switch 8s. So
one of the things that my next step, as soon as I finish this panel, is to put there's two types of routes put in. One's in operations, and the other is in tools. And you can have routes set, like I'm going to have probably 6 different routes for my switches.
yeah.
And you hit that once, and it throws the switches the way you designate in the routing to be.
So that is on our end. We call those macros.
Right.
So basically, all it's you program a macro to say that this turnout needs to be in the straight position. This one needs to be in the throw position, and so forth. I decided not to go that route because
I want to do it just so when I shut down, I want to make sure that I don't that I throw everything back in the phase 1 settings, so
Okay.
that I'm not having locomotives come flying off the open switches that would otherwise go to the expansion without the lift out or drop down in place.
that would probably be, for me, it might be useful to go ahead and
It's
maybe
kinda
do one macro that does every single turnout and throws it in the open. See, open is straight, right? Yeah. Open position or the straight position.
Right. They would call it closed
Okay, closed position.
versus
So I
thrown.
keep getting those two backwards. So-
Closed just typically indicates straight through. All
Right.
right. But in JMRI, you can have the through being thrown as well.
Right.
Right. Just it's one of those settings you can do.
Well, when you get into the question of, like say a Y or a curved turnout,
Right. Exactly.
you don't have a straight.
Right.
So, and one of the things that, I don't know, it's kind of like a pet peeve for me, but when it comes to like straight turnouts, a lot of times I will see where people will take and use the diverging because like they're in a curve or something.
Uh-huh.
And they will take that turnout, put it in a curve, and use the diverging to continue the main line and use the straight for like an industrial spur.
Uh-huh.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine because the real railroads do not do that.
You don't look at mine then. I've never said I'm prototypical. I'm proto-representative. And it just, to make certain things work, or if you can't find a curved turnout,
Right.
going with a straight throw works. And especially in my case where I'm going from phase 1 to phase 2 over in Aurora, because it's a giant crisscross of Ys there,
Right.
and to get everything situated, I had to do some non-prototypical.
Well, now if you tossed in a Y, then that's different.
Yeah, but I have can you still see my diagram?
Yeah, I can barely see it. You'll have to let me stop sharing, and then you can make your screen bigger so that way everyone can see what you're talking about. I really didn't have much to show on mine because mine's just in the starting phase. As I add on to my layout, then I will add more elements. You know.
If in this area here is what I was talking about as far as the mismatch of different things.
Okay.
You can see my pointer, right?
No, I cannot.
Can you now?
Oh, yeah, I can now. Okay, so I see you're at the roundhouse, or I'm assuming that's the roundhouse.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Okay, over here, down in this area, is where I was talking about where I had to do some different switching type arrangements to especially get the staging yard lined out the way I want it.
Right.
And this entry to staging is different. And like this in JMRI is showing as a crossover. Well, it's not. It's actually a left off of here, inverted left off of here, but large separation between the two in a curve.
I think you went off your screen.
I did.
Yeah, I think your cursor went off.
But I can change that. Maybe.
Or draw a yellow line.
There we go.
Okay.
Over in this area. That crossover
Yeah.
is actually a left about about here. Another left way up here where the straight, it's actually the throne is the main line and the straight comes down to staging.
Gotcha.
Which is one of your pet peeves not to do.
Yeah. But like I said, it's my pet peeve. You know, I don't criticize others. It's just you're not going to see that on my layout. So that, like I said, it's just one of my pet peeves top things. And then the other thing I'm getting away from is using number 4s on the main. I'm using number 6s on the main.
Yeah,
So,
I had a bunch of Atlas number 4s, and I've tried to use all of those in my yards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there's a few places where I have them on the main. And even though the tortoises and snails have the adjustable tension from that slider,
Right.
man, they've torn up a lot of the Atlases where I've had to go back in on the plastic slide rod, the throw.
Okay. The one that's got the little hole in it.
Yes. Okay, but where the points attached to that is just crappy. Okay.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
That's why I switched to Picos. Everything new on phase 2 is all Pico.
So Derek is asking if anyone knows what the radius is on a number 6. So let me see if I can look that up. Number 6 turnout.
Should be about a 20 or 22 inch. I want to say 20. I think a number 4 is an 18 inch. I used to know that. Used to could. Then I got old and retired.
So generally, a number 6 turnout has a curve near 43 inches for the closure rails. Fast Track specifies their number 6, which is NMRA spec compliant, as having a 45-inch substitution radius when built for its minimum length. So saying 45-inch radius.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm looking at mine here, my number 6 here, and it might be. Okay? It very well might be, because it's not very much.
Yeah. What I do know is like the Atlas curved tracks, the outer track is a 30-inch radius on 30 degrees, and then the inner track is 28-inch radius. That I do know.
The big long curve?
Yes, because I got a few of them.
I got one, and that's the one behind my monitor here.
That's actually what I used to come into staging because I'm trying to keep everything at a minimum of 28 inches, preferably 30-inch radius. Mainly for when I run like the longer cars, like the 86-foot box cars and things like that. But other than that, it's I'm like 28, 30. It's perfect. And I use that to start off my staging. And that way, my first turnout's in a curve and not having to wait till it straightens out and then create a ladder.
One thing where I've had to use the 4s, I make sure it does not continue into a curve.
Yeah,
because that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah, like you need at least 3 inches of straight, before your curve hits that. You can get away with a gentle curve on a number 6, but you don't want like a sharp curve with the number 6. Kind of the same way.
The number 4, I find my number 4s work well on a crossover because the sharpness of that curve is offset almost instantly as the other truck goes back the other way. So
right.
You're not in that radius long enough for a car to be totally in that radius.
Oh, absolutely.
Sense? So, and that's what on turnouts, number 4s get people in a lot of trouble is long cars.
Yeah. And the nice thing about having that number 4, like I use it all on my industries, especially if it's industries where the cars are no longer than 60 feet, scale feet.
Right.
It doesn't really look that great, but it performs great under slow speed, like jack speed, in other words. And so, like, Riceland, for example, actually has 2 number 4s on both ends because it's an open-ended spur, or an industrial siding, I guess is what you could call it. The turnout that goes into the industrial complex is also a number 4.
Okay.
Now, within it, depending on what I want to do and depending on what turnouts I have, I might throw a 6 or an 8 in there, just depending. Or not I've got some 8s. I probably won't use them because I typically use code 83 for my industrial areas, and the reason being because the ties are actually more prototypical, but it looks older, compared to code 100. I use code 100 for my mainly because the rail is taller, even though it's not prototypical. And it's cheaper too. Code 100 is just a tad bit cheaper than 83.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but you'd think it'd be more expensive.
Well, it's because the ties are bigger, so it's less ties. That's why.
But more brass. I mean, more nickel silver.
Yeah, just a tad. Just a tad. So.
I've got 10 more Smales to acquire to finish off all my switches.
So the one thing I wish JMRI did have on Panel Pro is putting in the double crossover. No, they do have a double crossover.
They got a double crossover, yeah.
That means I need to take this dude out. So delete. And add in a double crossover here.
Also have the single slip and double slip.
Yeah. That I knew they had.
What they don't have is a 3-way, but it's okay.
So with a 3-way, what you can do is just basically use 2 turnouts.
Right.
Use a left and a right.
But the problem, you'd have to... 3-way takes 2 switch motors anyway, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't a crossover... does a slip have to have 2 motors?
The slips, both the single and a double, has 2 turnouts. So for those who do not understand what a single and a double is, let me grab a couple of pieces of turnout and I'll be glad to explain it, because I actually got them right here in front of me, just sitting over here to the side. So give me just a second and I'll grab them.
Make it bigger. I can figure out how to do it.
Put my earpiece back in so everyone can see. So the first thing we mentioned was that curve turnout. Yeah, look how big this thing is.
Yeah, I got.
It's massive.
I got one of those. Yep.
So
And if you don't do an electrofrog, you should on those because that frog is so long.
yeah, but see, you got this little thing right here.
Yeah, make an electrofrog.
Yep, that's your electrofrog connection. That's the one thing I really do like about these turnouts here, is you could just solder a little piece of wire onto it.
Hey, hi. And
The
you know,
rest of
you're
their turnouts, not so much.
and you with your tortoises, you know, it's got the double pull, double throw switch built right into it that you connect that lead to.
Exactly.
And it's automatic, no frog juicers needed. It's just wham,
Okay.
bam, it's done.
So these are number 6s. So I've got 2 of them here, right?
Huh?
And I've got to lay way back so you can get the point. So if you have 2 turnouts like this, where you've got one leg diverging left, one leg diverging right, I mean, this here takes up a ton of real estate, right?
Yep.
So the way the 3-way is designed is you take them and you overlap them.
Correct.
So it looks like that. And so I actually have one right here.
I had one
And-
years ago.
But if I might have to zoom out a little bit, but I don't know if y'all can see this or not, but you've got a throw here, but you've also got another throw here.
That's a Pico, correct?
This is a Pico, and in order to use these with tortoises, I had to take the springs out.
Yep.
So if both throw bars are turned to one side, it's going to be diverging. Even if both throw bars are turned to the other side, it's diverging. It's when the throw bars are completely opposite of each other is when you go straight.
Now, what
So
happens
it's-
if they go opposite the other way?
You can't.
Oh, okay. We'll let you do that. All right.
No, because technically this one here will, if the top one here is thrown, it forces the other one to be thrown.
Okay.
So that's how a 3-way is designed to work. All right, now I got to figure out which switches I need to get rid
Now,
of.
how
Go
would
ahead.
JMRI handle that?
Basically in JMRI, you literally have to set it up like you got a left and then you got a right.
So you have to, you have 2 different switches
Yeah.
because you have 2 different switch motors. Do you have to,
Right.
do you have to do the same? Well, with the single slip and double slip.
Yep, you got to do the same. But JMRI knows that you're going to basically it assigns 2 different turnout addresses, because it doesn't matter if the single slip is or the slip, if it's a double or single, it still has 2 turnouts.
Yeah, but
All
on
right.
the crossover, okay, you don't
Okay.
have 2 addresses. It's a single address for both motors.
Well, on a straight crossover, you don't have any turnouts.
Sure you do.
No, not on a straight diamond, you don't,
If you
because a
look
straight
on-
diamond doesn't slip. So
Back and look at my diagram again. See if we're talking about the same thing. I have a crossover.
oh, you're talking about a crossover like a I see what you're saying. Like if the turnouts are like, I got 2 right here. All right. So if you're talking like this, yes, you can wire those as the same address. That is correct. And I don't even wire my 2 different tortoises separately. I do them together. So that way, when I change that address, it's actually changing both points simultaneously. So both are either thrown straight or both are either thrown diverging.
Yeah, but you're on a tortoise. I'm on a smale, so I have to address the smale.
Yeah, but you should be able to address them the same number.
I did.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But you can't hit on a crossover. You can address them the same.
Yeah.
But if you have two interdependent,
like a slip, like a slip or a three-way.
Right here, right, on my layout, this switch here,
Mm-hmm.
and this switch down here.
Right.
That's not a crossover. Originally, I had them addressed the same. Well, you can't do that in Panel Pro. All right, so I had to go back in and create a new address for the one back here, and then have them thrown at the same time.
So what you have done there is you have theoretically made what's called a Y in railroad terms, not the type of track Y, but or a triangle.
A
reversing track or something like that.
Right.
So, all right. So let's talk about slips. Now this is a number 6, but I have cut the straight track down, and I did that so that way I could add another one straight on like this for yard purposes. So just ignore that this one's been cut down. But if you got two turnouts that are exactly the same, but you flip one over and you're doing throat to throat, okay?
That's a single slip.
This is how you make a single or a double, either or. So to conserve space, what the railroads did was they overlapped it to where it looks like that. And so here, with that being said, you end up with either a single on the top or a double on the bottom. Now, the reason why this one is a single and not a double is right here you have a fixed pin or fixed pivot point right here.
All right.
So this track here can only go to this bottom track. But this track on the bottom can go to this one or this one. So that's why they call it a single. Where the double slip, this track here can go to either track on both sides. This track here can go to either track on both sides.
Right.
But you have a throw bar here, you have a throw bar here, and so these are your two turnouts.
But they'd be addressed the same in MRI.
No, you would actually want them addressed separately. Because if you address them the same, then the slip, you'll be forced to one direction. So you do want them addressed separately. I've tried that, and it does not work.
I don't have any, so I have that problem.
Yeah. It's either you make it to where your turnout's going to go straight every time, or your turnouts diverge every time. Mystic, no, my beard has never got caught on a switch. Thank God. I'm sure that would be pretty painful. So now in the US, there's really not much of a purpose as to why they prefer a single over a double. In the UK, there is a purpose as to when they use a single over a double. And that's because, like in the US, especially here where I live on the Hoxie sub, we've got double track all the way from North Little Rock up to our favorite town, Bald Knob, Arkansas. And they have, pairs of single crossovers because it's actually cheaper to maintain two single crossovers than an actual double crossover that has a diamond. So your more rural areas will actually have just a pair of singles. But the trackage is bidirectional on both. Most of the time, or back in the day when they had double mains, the engineer would always sit to the outside of the rail. So it's kind of like when you're going down the highway, you're driving on the right side on a double main. Typically, you would never drive on the left side.
It's funny
So,
you mentioned Hoxie. My mom was born in Hoxie.
Hoxie, Arkansas?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's right outside of Walnut Ridge.
Isn't that north of you?
Yeah, it's a little bit north of me. So, and that's actually where the UP Hoxie sub crosses over the BNSF Thayer sub that Randall, works on pretty much, with his job. So, a lot of times he'll say he's in Hoxie as well, and that's because there's a diamond there. Now, the railroads do not interchange, not to my knowledge, but I do know there is a diamond there. Crap, I lost my train of thought. It happens all the time. But anyways, like I was saying, as far as double track, now at the UK, you know, a lot of their mains are either double or quadruple. And that's because their rails are directional specific. So if a train, for example, was to have to cross over, you know, an opposite direction rail to get to a station platform, they would put in a single slip so that way it protects that opposite directional track. So that's why the single slip would come in. And then sometimes, you know, if you're trying to compress space, even though it's not really prototypical, like in industrial areas, you could throw in a single slip as well. If it's somewhere where, you know, you don't need to really go from an industry to another industry type thing. So I've got an example on AnyRail where I put one in, but other than that, you know, I would have to pull all that up. And Lynn McCurdy says he has been to the Diamond Field in Arkansas. I have been there as well, the Crater of Diamonds State Park. It's pretty neat. It's the only place in the United States you can actually go digging for diamonds, and anything you find, you get to keep. So.
Oh, Mr. Jimbo. So nobody's barbecuing today, huh? Everybody's bored and listening to me and you.
I know, right? Well, it's still kind of early. So I hope everyone in chat's having a great day today. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to slips. Now, passenger, like the U.S., I know they use those like in passenger terminals. And scissor crossovers or double crossovers, I've seen those used at big passenger terminals, and even double hump yards like at Bailey Hump in North Platte, Nebraska. Their hump yard, they have a double track hump, and they actually have a double crossover on the hump. It's pretty interesting.
One of my favorite experiences of all time was back in 1981 or 82.
Okay.
Our transportation club in college took a trip up to Minneapolis.
Oh, cool.
And one of the things, we went to Northwest Airlines and got to go on a 747 cargo to Twin City Barge, which does most of the barge traffic on the Mississippi River back in the day. And but the coolest thing, yard, Minneapolis, at the time was the largest hump yard in the United States, and it was Burlington Northern time. So when we got to go up in the tower and watch them hump a freight train, it was just cool.
Oh, wow.
Just watching the cars start going in all different directions.
So, growing up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is the midway point on the Cotton Belt, and I've told you this before, but I'm sure there's people in chat that haven't heard this story.
Yeah, I just now saw your private chat message.
Yeah. What gauge wire does TFJ use on his layout? The wire that Junior uses is whatever comes with Kato. He's using the Kato stuff, so all of his turnout connections and power connections is all the Kato stuff. I made his stuff simple. I didn't want to go difficult on his like I did on mine. So, but as a kid growing up, you know, back in, you know, before the pre 9/11 days per se, you know, the railroads didn't have as much as security clearances that you need like today.
Right.
And so the way the Pine Bluff Yard sits, the current one, there is a levee right off to the side of it. And on the other side of the levee is the Arkansas River. So it's to help keep flood control, flood waters from coming into the railroad yard. And so my grandpa would take me on top of that levee as a kid a lot of times. And you're not just able to watch, the trains hump from the hump yard and just watch them roll down, either like in groups of 1 or 2, or sometimes 3, but you can see above everything. Like you could actually see the tops of all the train cars.
Yeah.
You could see locomotives moving between cuts of cars.
That'd be cool.
And it was real interesting. You weren't as high up as like the
Tower.
Yeah, the tower, because they did have a tower in the middle of the yard on both ends. But it was really neat, interesting experience as a kid. Now, if you try to go over there, then the UP police show up and like, dude, what are you doing here? But in 2019, they have stopped using the hump portion of that yard, so they just do flat switching now.
The North Yard in Minneapolis, the hump tower. Of course, you got the hump, which sits up high to begin with. Well, the tower's sitting there right at the hump. Okay, so you're looking down at the tops of the cars on the hump, let alone the rest of the yard and the feed, both sides of the both sides of the hump. So, I mean, that was, like I said, one of my all-time favorite experiences.
So the way the Pine Bluff yard is set up, it's actually, you got the hump on the north end, and then just south of the classification tracks. And the way the classification comes, it's weird. It is so weird. I could actually pull it up and do a screen share.
Just so you want to know if you can use 14 gauge wire bus end scale. Yeah, the gauge of the wire is based upon the amperage that you're gonna draw. And this is more than anything. Amperage draw and length of the bus. 14 gauge wire is probably overkill for most people to begin with.
Yeah.
So
I would tell you this, as far as my wiring goes, I'm totally I don't even really know the word. I don't follow NMRA standards when it comes to wiring. I actually ended up buying a huge spool of speaker wire, and not the small stuff like the braided stuff. And I use that for my bus, and then I have smaller speaker wire that I use for feeders. And it's worked great for me.
And that even speaker wire has a gauge to it.
Yeah.
I use 14 gauge for mine, Nissy. All my bus lines are 14 gauge. My feeder lines are...
Okay. I just did another screen share.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, go ahead and answer Nissy's question, then I'll show you what I'm talking about on the yard here.
And anyway, for my feeders, I use 18 gauge, and you could actually use 20 gauge for most of it, depending on how many putting in. The more you put in, the smaller gauge you can use. Much power.
Okay, so this is the Cotton Belt Yard out of Pine Bluff. Now it's Union Pacific, but it's mainly Cotton Belt. But you can see you got the river right here. And there is a few industries along the river that, transport between barge and rail. Like this one here, this is all covered hoppers. And they would actually load or unload the covered hoppers here and load it on barges. But right here where it says Gravity Road, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's the actual levee. So you're actually on top. And like I said, this is fairly steep. You're literally going up a levee. I would say 20 feet, maybe 20, 30 feet, just about. But you've got the hump building here. And so if anyone's ever wanting to model a hump yard, which I wish I could, I just don't have the space for it. You would have your hump building here. There is a scale right here that weighs the cars. And as they come down, and you got your brake retarders here that slows it down. So the scale determines the weight of the car, and it basically tells the retarder how much pressure to put on the wheels to get it to slow down to the proper speed. Now you
Hey,
can see
Rick.
that one track is funneled into all of these different classification tracks here. Now, classification means either a specific industry, a group of industries, or a city destination, which could be like another major yard, for example. So, like these group of industries right here would have its own classification track. A bigger industry, let me zoom out, try not to make you totally sick, but like you got a huge paper mill right here, just to the east of the yard. They might have more than one classification track because they do a lot of stuff. Now, the part that I was mentioning is weird is on the bottom end of the classification, it doesn't funnel into one single outbound track. It actually divides. So half of the tracks funnel to one side of the yard, the other half of the tracks funnel to the other side of the yard. And I always thought that was weird. And the tower, which they have taken out since, used to be right in here. So the tower actually sat on the south end of the yard, or the classification section of the yard. And it was real interesting how it's all set up. This right here is engine refueling and, small service type stuff here. Nothing major there, and I don't think they're really using it anymore. They pretty much do everything out of North Little Rock now. And then all of this is just storage down on the south end. Nope, that's the engine maintenance here. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how that yard is set up. And this is not their original yard. The original yard, if we follow the track this way, is all right here. And a lot of it, they've added buildings. All of this where the trees and stuff are, these few cotton gin buildings, this used to all be the Cotton Belt yard right along in here. And you can see the remnants of the old roundhouse. Turntable was there. These are the only two original buildings that of the old Cotton Belt yard that's still in existence. This is the engine machine shops, which is now the Railroad Museum, which still has a functioning slide transfer table.
Oh, wow.
And then this building here was actually, it was not a car shop, it was called a coach shop. So this is actually where they would repair passenger cars. Now they did have a car shops, and it was kind of over in this area here. And the only reason I know all that stuff is because I actually found fire maps from 1950. But you can see the levee here too. There's that levee just right on the north side of Port Road. So it's really interesting that you can, look at and still see remnants of old railroad stuff, even though there's really nothing there anymore. It's still pretty interesting.
I never realized it as a kid, but there was a turntable in my hometown. And it wasn't until, within the last year, being on one of the sites, Japanese. Everybody Japanese. How do I control this person?
You got me as a mod?
I don't know. How do I make you a mod?
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you got a few moderators.
I just lose my...
Rick Bailey's a mod. Where's Rick at? You should be able to click on my name, Steve. Here, I'm going to type something.
I don't even have YouTube up.
Someone's starting to delete his messages. It's a good thing Rick's here, because he's looks like he's your only mod in the house right now.
I blocked him.
There you go. That'll take care of that.
Thanks, Rick.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe he was trying to ask us some really good train questions, but he needs to use a translation type thing. because I have no clue what type of language that is. If it's Mandarin, Cantonese, Japanese, Korean, whichever. I have no clue. But yeah, that's like the real interesting thing. And then of course, just below that yard, there's another yard here, and this was Missouri Pacific's yard. So the Cotton Belt and the Missouri Pacific actually paralleled each other for the longest. And you can see here's a track here, there's another track there. Used to back in the day, the railroads did not want another railroad's locomotive on their track. They did not believe in trackage rights, and that's because it was a much competitive market back in the day than it is now.
I don't know if I brought it up when you had me as a guest talking about the CB&Q, Burlington. Burlington was primarily, not totally, but primarily owned by the Northern Pacific and Great Northern.
Right.
Which were in competition with each other between Minneapolis and the Pacific Northwest. So they didn't wholly own the Burlington, but each had a very large proportion. So, like the Empire Builder, you could go from Seattle to Chicago on the Empire Builder, but it had to be powered by the CB&Q between Minneapolis and Chicago. Mm-hmm. Likewise, the North Coast Limited could do the same thing. And all they do is unhook their engines, or even just put Burlington engine on the front of the Northern Pacific or the Great Northern train to run it into Chicago. I remember as a kid seeing the North Coast Limited go through. I didn't know what it was, but all I knew was, hey, what are these green cars doing on the Burlington? Because this is before the Burlington Northern, and all the Burlington stuff was either the Pullman green or stainless steel. And all of a sudden you have either the Empire Builder or the North Coast Limited coming down the Burlington tracks with a Burlington engine on it.
So there was, here it is, the city of San Francisco. This is one that I thought was really interesting. Most people don't know about it, but the locomotives was shared, I think, between 3 different railroads. They had this locomotive, or the group of locomotives that was for the city of the San Francisco passenger line, had 3 heralds on it. It was shared between CNW, UP, and SP. And
Chicago Northwestern?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they went that far.
Well, and that's because it was a shared line. Chicago
Northwestern had it between Chicago and Omaha, where the UP took over.
And then the UP took over, or the SP took over somewhere in California. And the Milwaukee Road was part of it at one point too. But the successor became the San Francisco Zephyr. So I don't know how all of that came to be, but it was interesting. If you go and Google it and just type in the city of San Francisco locomotive, you'll see it looks like E units.
Probably were. I
can't tell, like, they look like E6s. But I don't know, it's like in a UP paint scheme with a little bit of Black Widow on the front of it. It's weird looking. And
the city of Los Angeles was the same way. It was UP and Chicago Northwestern as well. And then UP ultimately bought out Chicago.
And let me see if I can pull this picture up. See if I can share it. It's like interesting. I don't like that one. Most of them I'm seeing as like postcards. But it was like locomotive SF-4, for example. It's so weird. And then the observation car on the back ain't even really an observation car. It's like a...
Hi, Jackie. I'm doing great. Glad you're not doing too bad.
It's just weird looking.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Hey, Jackie. Hope you're doing good too. All right. Hi. Take care, bud. And you have a good one over in the Netherlands.
Bye, hi.
So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting because, like, um, just seeing some of these passenger trains and stuff. Are you finding what I found?
City of San Francisco?
Yeah. So, Derek, if you go back and look at Rick in the Christmas tree costume when he's got his tree topper on, he was totally the star of the show. I mean, he had a big old star right on his forehead.
Let's see. Leave Chicago at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, it was an overnight train, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the overnights were typically you leave one day, leave one afternoon or evening, and you arrive the next morning. Well, City of San Francisco was transcontinental.
Okay.
I see the picture where it's got the three heralds on the front. Yeah.
Rick says he's still the star of the show. Or Rick, I'll definitely make you a star if the rest of the group agrees to do the wood chip hoppers for the 2021 car.
Apparently, in 1939, it derailed.
Yeah, I didn't get that far in it. I just remember seeing it in a book somewhere, and then
I wonder if the city of Los Angeles had three heralds.
It's a good question.
Because it
I think it was just straight UP.
no, because UP did not go into Chicago back in the day. They had to use Chicago Northwestern.
Very possible. Former operators CNW, UP, and Milwaukee. And the lines that they used was the overland route.
Yeah.
Which was used by the UP and SP. Technically the Central Pacific, but Central Pacific became the Southern Pacific.
Right.
Between Council Bluffs, Iowa, Omaha, Nebraska, and San Francisco, California.
Yeah, it was between Council Bluffs and Chicago. Council Bluffs to me is just the same thing. It's every picture I see only has one herald on it.
Yeah, it's the UP Herald.
Yeah.
So like the SP, they had the Golden State train that had a different paint scheme as well. I don't know too much about it.
What was the Rock Island SP rocket that they interlined? To Chicago, LA to Chicago.
SP train. I think it's the Golden State.
Golden State Rocket?
I think so. And that could be why the SP had their locomotives with the maroon color on it. So that could be it.
Yeah, because
it went from Chicago to LA.
Yeah. And I don't know where, how much of it was rock and how much was SP.
So that I don't know because I'm not seeing which route they took. But that's the only one where the SP had E units painted in silver and maroon.
Right, in the rock colors.
Yeah. Yep, the Golden State was a named passenger between Chicago, LA from 1902 1968 on the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific, and the SP and predecessors. It was named for California, the Golden State. It crosses the Continental Divide in Lordsburg, New Mexico.
That's way south. So that would be SP's line.
Yeah, so it probably took Rock. It's somewhere they interchanged. I don't know exactly where.
Did SP go into St. Louis or Kansas City?
Through St. Louis through the Cotton Belt.
So they may have changed in St. Louis. Or,
I'm probably thinking not, because I would have known that if it was on the Cotton Belt's line. I don't think it didn't go through Arkansas. That I do know. I'm thinking it probably went into Kansas and they interchanged either in Kansas or New Mexico somewhere. That's just my thinking. Oh, here we go. The routes. The Southern Pacific line from Los Angeles to El Paso. The Golden State ran on the El Paso and Northeastern Railroad from Tucumcari, New Mexico to El Paso. Douglas, Arizona. That's really not telling me much. So the Rock Island main line crossed the Colorado and Southern and Fort Worth and Denver Railroad at Dalhart, Texas. The Dallas-Denver line was the route of the Texas Zephyr and other trains. So maybe Texas.
well, it looks like it went from Chicago to Rock Island down to. This is just what the Rock Island line map looks like.
Okay, let me look at your screen. See if you can do a screen share. Boy, chat got quiet.
Is that showing it?
Yeah.
So you can see it goes from Chicago, Quad Cities, down to St. Joe, it looks like.
Oh, Kansas
Cross.
City?
Well, it's just see, it looks like. But it could be. Just want to say St. Joe. Then across Kansas to Colorado, whether it went to Denver or came down like Walsenburg to down into Santa Fe, down towards, looks like probably right here. See my my mouse?
No, it's off screen. You must be doing that on OBS or OBS.
No, I'm in figure out. I lost it. Wherever it was.
Okay, so the overland route, so that would have been the city of San Francisco.
Right.
They interchanged with the UP at Ogden, Utah.
Yes.
And then from Ogden over to San Francisco. Looks like the Donner Pass is part of it.
Yep.
Okay. So the line from St. Louis to Kansas City down to Tucumcari, New Mexico, they're saying was the old Cotton Belt line, but that was not the original Cotton Belt line. So that might have been part of one of the lines that the SP acquired and I guess sold it to the Cotton Belt, even though the Cotton Belt was a subsidiary. I mean, a lot of railroads that own subsidiaries did that for, tax reasons.
Yeah.
even though they own this company, it's a separate company. Therefore, they only pay taxes on the income of that company and not the income of, all of them per se. It kept them in lower tax brackets, so that's why they did that back then. But yeah, it's like the original Cotton Belt route was St. Louis, Missouri into East St. Louis, Illinois, and then it crossed over close to the Boot Heel of Missouri down into Arkansas, down to Pine Bluff, and then went straight to Tyler, Texas. That was the original Cotton Belt route. From Tucumcari to St. Louis through Kansas City, I have no clue.
Well, the Rock Island also had a line that went south down to New Orleans, but I'm still thinking that Rock probably interchanged somewhere in New Mexico.
That's
for that train anyway.
So the SPCSL, I don't know what that is. SPCSL? Southern Pacific Chicago to St. Louis line. So it was a paper subsidiary of the SP formed to own the Chicago to St. Louis line of the bankrupt Chicago, Missouri, and Western. That's interesting.
Yeah, Manny says sounds like Chicago was a point of many railroads. Yeah, just
it was. You have 4 what they call the gateway cities, and that's where you had a lot of the Western railroads connect to the Eastern railroads. Those 4 cities being Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, and New Orleans. Those are what we call the gateways. And I can't remember if it was Chicago or if it was St. Louis that had the most. It was one of those two. It's probably Chicago. Probably Chicago.
It was. St. Louis boasted that their train station serviced the most passenger trains. Okay? Any train station in the country. And that was true. The difference being Chicago had 5. with at least 2 being near the one of St. Louis.
Yeah. It's like St. Louis set it up to where every single railroad came into that passenger station. Mm-hmm. No matter the railroad. But, it was like most of the railroads were either east of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi. Now, there was a few that overlapped it, like, say, the Frisco, for example. Frisco was mostly west of the Mississippi. However, they did have a line that went from Memphis, Tennessee to Birmingham, Alabama. And so that's how the BNSF has trackage rights down in that part of the U.S. But like I said, most of them were either they were practically on one side of the Mississippi River.
Well, that's true for St. Louis and New Orleans. Okay, but Western railroads typically went as far east as Chicago, and the Eastern railroads only went as Chicago.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But Chicago is 150 miles east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
So.
But there is a canal that does run from the Mississippi River to Chicago, though.
It's rivers. It's the Illinois River that runs up to Joliet to the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's why if you look at the railroads today, I mean, look at CSX, Norfolk Southern, BNSF, and UP, and all the railroads they acquire. Now, you might see Foreign Power go across each side, but you're not going to see a UP crew driving a train from Pennsylvania all the way out to California. So,
right,
All right,
Anthony.
Anthony.
Coming.
Take care, Opa Dodge.
Yeah, when Burlington Northern acquired Santa Fe, that literally doubled their Chicago traffic because Santa Fe had a huge yard southwest of the city, and that was expanded, and now the big intermodal Burlington Northern Santa Fe intermodal yard.
Yeah.
Along those old ones, and it's funny because Electromotive, all right, EMD sits halfway between the Santa Fe and the Burlington tracks, okay, and had connections to both of them. That's why CB&Q for years was all EMD.
So SP started out with a lot of Alcos, and they went all EMD.
I don't ever remember seeing an Alco or anything as far as the diesels go, anything but an EMD. I don't even remember seeing a U-boat.
Now, SP did have some GEs in there too. You know,
Burlington had some, but I don't remember seeing any in Chicago.
Let's see. Like Cotton Belt, I've been trying to work on acquiring more Cotton Belt locos and less SP locos. Cotton Belt had RS3s, they had RSD5s, and some people call them RSCs, but Alco called them RSDs. It's really nothing but an RS, which stood for road switcher. I don't know what the D stands for, but it's the 6-axle Alco RS units. One of these. And they ran them long hood forward. So, and it's not much different than...
But you could order those from Alco either way, long or short hood forward.
Yeah.
Cab.
Good. Now, Cotton Belt ran them all long hood. All their Alcos, the Cotton Belt ran long hood. So this is a RS3.
I think the Southern did too.
And that's an RSD. It's literally the same length. One's not any longer. And what's interesting on the axles is, I'm gonna see if I can get it closer. Check this out. These two are a lot closer than the middle one and that one.
Huh.
It's really interesting.
I was wondering if, and on the on that D, were they all powered axles? Because like on the E units,
no, they were not.
They weren't. Okay.
Only
it was just a matter of weight.
Yeah, weight distribution.
Okay.
It's the same with like the Alco PAs.
Same thing with the E unit. Right? They weren't all powered either.
Yeah, it was just the middle axle was for weight distribution. The middle axle was the only one not powered. Now I think when they went to like the RSD, Cotton Belt had some RSD 15s. They called them the alligators because they had like a really long snout.
Huh?
Those were 6-powered axle trucks. But that's kind of later than the era that I'm modeling. But Cotton Belt only had 3 RSD5s, and they had maybe 20 to 40 RS3s. And that's all the Alcos that they had for the Cotton Belt. SP had more models. So, and like I said, for this era, I'm trying to get away from the SP locos. I don't mind having like 1 or 2, as extra power, but I don't want most of my power SP. I'm trying to get away from that. But Cotton Belt had a ton of F units, FTs, F7s, and they have more A units than the B units. when the Cotton Belt ordered the FTs, they ordered the FTs in ABBA sets. But when they ordered the F7s, they did not order them in any type of sets. They were just like, get me, 60 A units and 20 Bs. And they would just mix them. Like, you could see an AA, you would sometimes see an AABA, it's just however they wanted to do it.
It was interesting. The CB&Q would run them elephant style. Okay.
Cotton Belt did too. And then
instead of back to back.
And then later on, they had GP9s, and sometimes you would see GP9s and F units mixed together.
Wow.
It was interesting. All right, take care, Z.
Bye, Z.
I don't think the Cotton Belt had any SD9s. I know the SP did, but I don't know if I'll have to go back and look. Cotton Belt did have one GP7. It was painted in daylight, so it was actually a GP7P. They used it for passenger for Cotton Belt had 4 passenger locomotives. And I think they used that GP7P over in Texas. Because they used the 2 Alco PAs to go back and forth between Dallas and St. Louis, one for one direction, one for the other. So they never ran them together. SP did later when they used them for commuter service out in California. But the Cotton Belt also had one F7P. They called it an F7P. It was basically an F7 with the steam generator. And it was also painted in daylight, and it ran from Shreveport, Louisiana to Dallas, Texas.
The only F7s I ever saw, Burlington, all graybacks, which were freight.
Yeah.
All the passengers were E units.
Well, and that was mostly the same with the SP and the Cotton Belt. Was most of the passenger units were all 6-axle. It was just Cotton Belt had 2 4-axle units, and they felt like the 6-axle had just been overkill because, why would they want to go and spend extra, tens of thousands of dollars, to buy a 6-axle unit if it's only going to be pulling 2 to 3 passenger cars each time? In
answer to Z's question down there, she wasn't leaving. She doesn't do T.
Oh.
Well, not most of the time. But anyway, in answer to her question, how do you find out what train ran where? You just kind of learn. I know for like the Burlington, you just look up Burlington, run a search on Burlington passenger as an example, or UP passenger, or SP passenger, and you learn different things. Like for the CB&Q, they're all going to be, for the most part, they're going to be Zephyrs.
Yep. Rock Island's Rockets.
Yeah, Rock Island Rockets. Got different East Coast ones. B&O had the Capital Limited. NC had the General and the Broadway Limited. I know the ones that went in and out of Chicago. Okay, because that's where
you grew up.
And that's where my interest was.
So the Cotton Belts were the Stars. You had the Morning Star. You had the Lone Star. Morning Star went from St. Louis to Dallas, Texas. And the Lone Star went from Memphis. So this was actually Cotton Belt ended up buying this line from the Rock Island during their bankruptcy. And it went from Brinkley, Arkansas to Memphis, Tennessee. And UP still has that line today. But that's how the Cotton Belt was able to get passenger traffic from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas, and they called it the Lone Star. UP had city trains, but they weren't the only ones. Illinois Central also had city trains too. So
like City of New Orleans. And,
yeah. Then SP is the daylights. Every train was a daylight for the SP. So, Z, if you're trying to model your area, the first thing you need to look at is what railroad is there now. and that will actually give you a clue to eliminate a whole bunch of railroads. Because if it's like Union Pacific and you're down in Arizona, most likely it's going to be the Southern Pacific. But if it's BNSF that's in your area, it could be the Santa Fe. You know, just depending on what railroad is there today, and then knowing that railroad, you know, what railroads they took over, and then just kind of looking at maps to see where their tracks went.
Yeah, like Santa Fe had the Chiefs.
Yep, Santa Fe was the Chiefs. But they also have one called the El Capitan.
El Capitan, right.
So, ironically, I got to tell you something funny. Walters just came out with some Santa Fe cars. And Craig, my buddy, his freak flag is the Santa Fe. He is a Santa Fe buff, okay? So he sends me this picture, and I'm just going to hold it up on camera, of this boxcar. And it looks like a standard boxcar, right, of the Santa Fe.
Huh?
So it says on here, the route of the Super Chief, only all coach, Chicago, Los Angeles Streamliner. And he messaged me and said, "What's wrong with that car?" I picked it up instantly because I knew the Super Chief was not all coach. Super Chief had a lot of sleeper units on it. So where Walters messed up on this one is when they put all coach Chicago to Los Angeles Streamliner, that was the El Capitan.
Ah, okay. Hey, Carl.
Bang, got you, Junction, Carl Brun. I always love saying his channel name.
Washington, Idaho, and the UP? Sounds
Okay,
more
so not up here in Washington to Idaho. That would probably be the Northern Pacific.
Or the Great Northern.
Or the Great Northern. Could be one or the other.
You had the Empire Builder on the Great Northern, and you had the North Coast Limited on the Northern Pacific.
Mm-hmm. So that would be a good spot to start at, Z. Now,
what color was it, Z? Do you remember?
Yeah, that helps. That really helps.
If it was brown and orange, it was the Empire Builder. If it was green, and it could be, it varied, or it could be blue and white for the Empire Builder too in later years, right?
Here's another railroad to look at. What about the Western Pacific?
Didn't that become Southern Pacific?
That's you. No, Western Pacific became a subsidiary of the UP.
Oh yeah, Central Pacific became Southern Pacific.
Right. No, I was wee small, she said.
Wee small, okay. Hey, rail artist.
Let's see here. See, now I'm curious to see, where did the Western Pacific run?
Well, it's the one that runs over Donner Pass.
No, that was Southern Pacific.
It runs from that's what the Zephyr is on. It runs from San Francisco to Salt Lake City, and that's where the Zephyr would through Salt Lake City, and that's where it would change over to the Denver Rio Grande to Denver before it went to the CB&Q.
Okay, so Western Pacific wasn't even really that big.
No. Just basically across the Cascades, and that was it.
Yeah, but I don't think they went. Donner Pass was Southern Pacific, not Western.
Well, there's another one that goes on the other side of south of Lake Tahoe. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken.
Yeah, but okay, so the Donner Pass went from Reno, or the town right outside of Reno, to Sacramento. That was the Donner Pass, which was the SP. It looks like the Western Pacific ran north of that.
Right.
Far north of that. Yeah, because they ran through northern Nevada.
So it went through Winnemucca?
Yes. It went through Winnemucca. That's the old WP line.
All right.
Salt Lake City to San Jose, Oakland,
Right.
Sacramento, Stockton, Hillmar, pretty much that. Man, I
Right.
thought the WP was bigger than that.
So it would have paralleled the.
Donner. Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
paralleled it. Now, they did have a branch line down to Reno.
What, the
And it-
WP?
Yeah, the WP did.
Okay.
All right, so the lake you were talking about was called
Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe.
Donner Pass is on the north side of Lake Tahoe.
Okay, so the WP is farther north of that.
Okay. I thought it was south.
Because there's another lake called Pyramid Lake. SP is south of Pyramid Lake, and the WP is north of it.
Z, I can almost guarantee you if it was Seattle through Idaho, it was going to be the Great Northern or the Northern Pacific. Especially if it was across the, I'll call the panhandle, the little thumb finger up there. By
Well,
Spokane,
there-
Washington.
All right, so what was the towns that Z was mentioning? Seattle through Idaho. So, and of course, y'all have to bear with me as I'm Googling things. I'm not able to see the chat.
See, after 1970, 70 or 71, when Great Northern, Northern Pacific, and Burlington all combined to the Burlington Northern, there was redundancy and a lot of track work up between Seattle East and from the CB&Q went down through through Wyoming and then up into Montana, Casper, which made that kind of redundant as well. Hey, Michael.
Well, and then there was also the SP&S too. I don't know exactly where that went.
I gotta get something to show Michael, just because he's harassing me. All right, Michael, just for you. I keep them at the ready.
Oh, the bumpers.
Did you see my April Fool's video
Yeah, I remember.
about being a high-tech modeler? And
Yeah, making track bumpers.
Yeah, I can model as good as Michael McCarville, and I took all three pieces of the track bumper and put them together and said, "See, it's as close as I'll ever get."
Oh, let's see. What does this map show? Golly, that map's so hard to read. Yeah, the heck with that one. Won't let me close it out. All right, I'll just have to close the tab.
Yes, Lynn, you're correct. Western Pacific had the California Zephyr from Bay to Salt Lake, and then Rio Grande had it from Salt Lake to Denver, and then Burlington had it from Denver to Chicago.
Yep.
It was interesting because there were other railroads that would have special passenger cars, such as the Pennsy have some stainless steel cars to go that they would interline with the Burlington in Chicago, so that people could book a sleeper berth all the way from New York City to San Francisco.
I mean, a lot of railroads competed with each other. So, Michael, you going to go check out the 4014? I caught it when it came through a week ago from Friday.
I know
Actually,
Ken Patterson.
Yeah, I filmed it when it stopped in Bald Knob for a pit stop. Actually did that one live. And let me tell you, that little town was packed. I mean, packed. And
Sure.
I actually met a couple, a man and his wife. They actually drove from Corinth, Mississippi, to catch
Wow.
the big boy.
Wow. It's a drive.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's a pretty good drive.
That's south of Tupelo, isn't it?
No, it's actually it's north of Tupelo, I think. It's right below Shiloh, Tennessee.
Okay, it'd be right north of. I knew north of Tupelo.
Yeah.
Almost due north of Tupelo.
So the LA and SL was formed by the Mormons when the UP didn't pay for the laborers. Road was from Salt Lake to Los Angeles. I could have ended up chasing the 4014 much longer than I did that day, but I had Junior with me, and I was kind of pulling him out of school. Now he's homeschooled, online public school through K-12. I know he had school stuff to do that day, so I yanked him out just for the morning time and early afternoon, so that way he could see the 4014 for a history field trip.
So how are you and the family doing?
We're fine. Amanda, she still can't smell or taste, and she's moving around more. She's starting to eat more. So I think physically she's on the back end of it now. Not talking about the smell and taste, because they said that could be. There's people that's had it for a year that still can't smell and taste. And, but like fever wise, no one's showing any symptoms. Me and Aaron, we got tested last Friday, hoping that comes back negative. Other than that, could be asymptomatic. And if our test comes back either tomorrow or Wednesday positive, then we have to start quarantine all over, which I'm not looking forward to.
Don't you have to go 2 weeks of negative tests before you're?
That's if you're symptomatic.
Oh, okay.
That's only if you're symptomatic. So, yeah, we're good. I got a little bit of time to work on the layout. That's how I was able to, do live streams all last week, because I've been on a forced staycation. But I will tell you, the quarantine is not what it's cracked up to be, because you're not allowed to leave, or you're not supposed to leave. Like, they don't even want you just taking a drive, because what happens if you're in a vehicular accident? Now you're starting to expose people, because, so they want you to stay home. And, some people are like, well, what about like your necessities and, like getting groceries and stuff. Walmart Neighborhood Market, that's like Walmart's grocery, top stores. It's not like a full-fledged Walmart. It's just literally a grocery store with Walmart's name on it. They do grocery delivery. So, and we actually had groceries delivered this morning. So,
and the supercenters will do pickup where there's still no contact.
Yeah, they'll do pickup, but they prefer you to not. So, like our neighborhood market, I mean, we have a super center as well, but like I said, the neighborhood market's closer to our house. They literally 6 months ago got rid of every single cash register, that was used by, a cashier. And then they went to straight self-checkout on everything. And they use, they used those employees to either oversee the self-checkouts, or they use them for pullers for grocery pickup. But our neighborhood market actually ends up using DoorDash. You're thinking DoorDash for like restaurants, right? And Walmart subcontracts DoorDash to do the grocery delivery. So DoorDash will come into the pickup spot, pick up our stuff, and deliver it to us. So it's pretty interesting. But no, where we live at, our houses are not on top of each other, so we can, go outside, take like a brief stroll, but it's still, that cabin fever type thing. It sucks.
Yeah.
We have been at the house. Aaron and I only left on Friday, but we've been here since Monday. And the only reason why we left on Friday was to go get tested. And that was it.
I just noticed I've been on for over 2 hours.
Oh, hey, that means you're halfway there to beat Sparky and TSG.
No. Well, what about Brian and Mike? The time they went from like 8 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was 5 hours. It was the night Ray was on.
If I had all the materials I needed to do like a whole bunch of scenery stuff right now, I wouldn't mind going live for 4, 5, 6 hours, just working on scenery stuff, but I don't have everything I need.
As long as you got somebody to monitor chat and stuff for you.
I did get on Yankee Dabbler this morning, and they have what's called like a Monday type deal. They have like deals for on Mondays. So I don't know if you knew that or not. Unfortunately, you can't use like, Vinny's or Crooked River and Eastern's discount codes on their Monday deals. But I did order the floodlights from Woodland Scenics for the Riceland Grain Elevator.
Oh, okay.
And on the Monday deal, I found another one of the, storefront buildings that you can put them side by side to have like a store row. I did find one of those. It was a Walters, and it was less than $20. So
Merchants Row, where they got 4 or 5.
Let me see if I can look up that name of what that building was.
It's right here on my lift out section under my monitor.
It's not. It's not called Merchants Row. I'm probably going to have to look up on. Let's see here. I wonder if they even have any left, because it's kind of like their little closeout thing. Oh, I messed up. Monday night closeout's what they call it. It is the Midtown Appliance Sales and Service Building. MSRP is $35, and I got it for $19.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, so
I still need to get to go with my cement plant. I need to get. I also have the Jack Frost cold storage. I haven't built it yet, but I got it. Got to get the Red Wing flour mill. I got to get the brewery.
They've got some. If you go to Yankee Dabbler's website and just look on, just Google Yankee Dabbler and don't click on the site to their homepage, there is something called the Monday night closeout. Okay. In there, they've got some good deals. Like, I know you're a Digitrax guy, so they've got like a DB200 Opto. MSRP $200. It's $152. They've got rolling stock, decoders, locomotives, and different types of buildings. So
Monday night closeout.
Yeah, Monday night closeout's what it's called. New Yankee Dabbler items every Monday night. Closeout items available while quantities last.
I see the Midtown, $18.99.
Yeah, $19.
Oh, $19. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look how cheap the pulp tanks are for Superior Paper. Yeah. If I was doing a paper plant, dude, $10 for that kit. That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Why didn't you buy the post road pet supply too?
I'm limited on funds till payday.
I know how that goes.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So, Michael, I've got a whole bunch of Walters kits that I ain't even put together yet. One being the whole sawmill complex. I've got every single kit for it. Haven't even put any of them together. Oh, Lynn, I know exactly what you're talking about. Been looking for a Ford Bronco that was, it was stolen off your Oh man, that stinks. That stinks. I actually have that Ford Bronco though. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh man, that is bad.
So I actually like the kits over the prefab buildings for the most part, especially for like the bigger industries. That way you can customize it, to your needs. Like, I don't want to go and buy like a Woodland Scenics or a Walters pre-made building that's already painted and detailed and stuff, and then it looked like everybody else's on their layout. So a lot of the kits I do like, by myself. One of the things I need to get from Walters is their ladder kit. That's one thing I do not like that Walters does is they'll sell you like some kits and stuff, but you don't get all the accessories that you need for it. So then
Right.
you have to go and buy the accessory pack separately, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
So you need a ladder or a stair or like a exterior staircase?
Yeah, it's like the ladder that's got the cage around it.
Hang on a second. I may have one. That I didn't use.
If it works for my Rosslyn grain elevator, that's what I'm
This
looking
was-
for.
These were the ladders that were on the end of the icing platforms. Is that what you're looking for? See it?
Yeah, it doesn't have the cage around it though. Let me see if I
It's
can
got-
pull up that Walters kit.
It's got railings. I got two of them. Railings and an end to the platform. I'm looking for.
So the kit is called Caged Ladders and Vents.
I don't have that. But I did have those stairs that they go down the end of the platform for the icing platforms.
Yeah.
And I want to buy the expansion kit, icing platform expansion kit, but nobody's got them.
Let me grab this grain elevator and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to grab it real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the backside, which has, oh God, you can't even really see it. Okay. Yeah, you can barely. If I angle it, there we go. So there's a door here.
Huh?
And there's a door here.
Right.
So this side I'm not worried about because this is facing the back of the layout. But on this side here, golly, there's a door right where my finger is.
See it?
And so, of course, this being the front side of the layout, like, I've got a door that leads to nowhere. So, I don't know if I need to make, like, scratch build a platform with some hand railings
There's a club in Chicago that
or what I need to do with that.
we won't get into that.
So, now, someone mentioned about the overhead gantry door. That's right here. And the piece that goes over it actually broke off. I got to glue that back on. But, yeah. That's more or less what I'm talking about. That's what I need is either a caged ladder to go here or make like a standing platform. I'm thinking it's supposed to be a standing platform so that way they can see as they're filling the car once the car's full, to radio up or, for the engineer to move. Lynn, that stinks, man.
It does.
That really stinks. There's two types of people I hate in the world: liars and thieves.
Hey, run the chat for a minute. I'll be right back.
All right, so the Train Freak is officially taken over. So this is not Sidetrack Sunday, unfortunately. Yeah, Manny, you're right. Watch your step. Yeah, that would be like a fall to the death. So, but yeah, if anyone's got a suggestion, should I put a cage ladder there or should I put a platform? That would be really useful as to what people would think that would need to go on that. Because that's actually one of the first scenes that I'm wanting to get up and going as a signature scene on my layout. So, oh, sweet. So it looks like I just picked up a new subscriber. That's awesome. That means closer to the 800 subscriber contest. So if you're in the chat and you have not checked out my video on the 800 subscriber contest, I'm giving away some really nice prizes, even including a Soundtrack Tsunami sound card kit for one of your pieces of rolling stock. So make sure you check that out too. So Lee is saying that I should put a platform on the grain elevator. So I might have to go get me some styrene and cut something out, put some bracing in or something too, make some braces, and I might give that a project for my buddy John to do. I might just give him my elevator and be like, all right, dude, I need a platform here with rails. So
yeah, you don't have to have a stairway, just a platform out there.
Hold on a second, Steve. I've got all right. Sorry about that. Sounds like Junior's getting a little unruly with Miss Freak.
Uh-oh.
Kids, go love them.
Yep. I got 3 of them.
So
well, let's wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I got a little bit done on my Panel Pro. People got to watch, see how that's done. So.
Well, before I can do any more on mine, I've got to install tortoise switches. I've got 5 that needs to be installed. And that's 1 for the Riceland and then 4 for the double crossover, the scissor crossover.
I got 10 to finish me off. 11 if I want to add another siding for a salvage yard.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I got to figure out how to do is I got to take that double crossover out and figure out how I'm going to do the frogs, because the frogs are completely different than Atlas. This is a Walther's turnout.
Are they insel frogs or electro frogs?
They're electro frogs, but they're different. They're not. It's not like a full frog. It's different.
Huh.
It's kind of like how these are done. I mean, these Picos are similar. I don't know if you can see that.
That's an insel frog.
No, this is electro. It's electro frog because it's got it's got metal rails. See?
Yeah, but I got insel frogs that have metal rails too. Turn it over. Turn it over.
This is the back side.
If I can see the wires, I can tell. If the wires don't go out, doesn't have a drop down, they just end, then it's an insel frog. Are they rails cut?
No. Well, yeah, they're yeah, the rails are cut.
All right.
I want to say Pico only makes the 3-way in Electro Frog.
I don't know. Because I know they make like normal turnouts and you can buy them in insel frogs. Like
yeah.
STs or SLs. Okay, SL's is long, ST is
Short.
and then the E, you can buy
On
the
the
ST
end of it.
or the SLE would be the Electrofrog version. I've used both in different places. The longer the frogs are, the more I go towards Electrofrogs.
So they have, it looks like the wire is soldered to the rail, and then it comes out and it goes to like the next piece across
Yeah, but there's no wire that comes out
to be
that's just-
soldered. No, it
Yeah,
looks
that's-
like they soldered a piece of wire to go from the rail to the rail. So it might not even need a frog juicer.
If it's an Insulfrog, it won't, because there's no place to connect to. I wish I had a portable. Well, I do have a portable camera here. Switch cameras here. Hang on.
Yeah, I wish I could get. I might be able to turn my light off and get the reflection off, but see, then I turn really dark. Let me see if I can hold it closer. All right. And because this is a three-way, it's got 3 frogs.
Alright.
But you see where the rails continue and they're gapped.
See, if you look at mine and you look at that frog, the rails are not gapped.
What's that little brown spot right there where the frog
The frog.
starts?
That's the frog, okay? But when I talk about gapping, I'm talking about like here.
Okay,
All right, you'll have it cut here and here.
right.
All of this is electrified based upon the double throw switch. Okay, if it's not cut in this area, it's an Insulfrog,
Okay.
because that's what this is. Let me show you a Pico Electrofrog if I can find where I've got one. But I'm trying to figure out. I got Atlas Electrofrogs, but where's Pico? Pico.
Yeah, Atlas. I mean, the whole frog is metal.
Well, they still have some plastic ones too. I bought one that plastic.
Yeah, I will not buy those.
Um,
Those I will not buy.
I think this one over here is an Electrofrog, a Pico Electrofrog. Is that case?
Lynn, I might. Let me see if I can find the one that I've got, and it might be too modern. So I might. Let me see if I can find it first, and then I'll talk to you on it.
I think
But-
the only Pico Electrofrog that I have is up underneath where I can't get a good picture of it.
All right, Steve. This is what the backside looks like. Since I turned my light off, that's shining my face. You can see the wires a lot better.
Yeah, that's just an Insulfrog because you don't have a wire to solder to.
Okay.
On a Pico Electrofrog, you'll have an extra wire tucked in under there that's not
Yeah.
soldered that you can pull out and drop down through the layout. You solder to and drop down to the layout. If it doesn't have that, they just end, then it's an Insulfrog. Plus, on Electrofrog, Pico Electrofrog, the rails themselves, not the frog, but the rails themselves going back towards the points
Mm-hmm.
will be cut.
Okay. So this is an Insulfrog then. And probably the same thing with my slips here too. Because they look very. Well, actually, the slips don't look anything. Yeah.
You may want to get yourself some hardened nail polish as well. Because on those Picos, at the frog, both sides, those rails get awful tight together, and a lot of times the wheel flange will short out as it goes across.
Yeah.
So I just coat a little hard as nails on there.
Yeah, I'm thinking this one's an Insulfrog as well.
Yeah, the biggest giveaway, if you can't see the wire, The biggest other giveaway is the rails being cut. And all of the electric be one rail's not insulated from the other. On an
Right.
electric frog, because you're
Yeah.
doing
That's what I'm thinking this is it's so I might end up selling these and ordering the Electrofrog ones if I can get my hands on them. And who knows, I might not even need them. You know, or
let's see. I know I had some Pico Electrofrogs. No, that's not one either.
let's see, where's my bin at?
Here's one.
Let's see if I can find this.
Can't for the life of me
Here.
find where I put that one.
All right, Lynn, this is the one that I have. I don't know if this is exactly the one you're looking for. I mean, it's in dirty, dirty shape. But I don't think that's the right one. I mean, it doesn't even tell me what it is, but I'm assuming this is a Ford. I mean, it's got kind of that Ford look on the front, on the nose. But I'm thinking this is supposed to be a Bronco.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, here's the...
Profile wise.
Well, some of it's kind of hard to tell. This camera doesn't pick up white very well, like white paint.
Any leads on a Walthers icing platform expansion kit would be greatly appreciated for me.
Lynn is saying it looks pretty close, if not exact, and he just sent me pictures. Okay, so mine is a little bigger.
Yeah, you've got like an extra set of windows.
Yeah, it's an extra door. It's a 4-door instead of a 2-door. So
Yeah.
okay. Well, Lynn, I tried, buddy. I tried.
Okay, now that we've gone another 15 minutes, or 20 minutes past when we were going to end this thing.
Hey, you just keep trucking, man. You're going to get a lot closer, you know, to beating that record.
I don't have any desire in beating that record. I've already missed. My dog's already mad at me because I didn't take it for his walk.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Cheryl took him, though. He didn't miss out. She didn't miss out.
Here's probably one of my coolest vehicles right here. It's a Ford F-150, but I added a light bar to the top of it.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like a volunteer fire truck.
You put light. Is it lighted?
No, it's not. I did that long time ago.
Hard to do.
Yeah. I've had this one for maybe since 2013.
I found a 1959 Buick
Oh, nice.
that I painted up to look like my 1960.
Oh, nice.
Which was my first car. I think my dad bought it in 65. Brother had it 70 to 72.
So we got
70
NASCAR.
70, 73, and I had it from 73 to 76. Oh, yeah. I've got a full set of the NASCAR cars from back about 1990.
They come out with new ones every year.
But they're bigger. They're not HO scale.
No, these are 1 to 87.
Mine aren't.
Look.
Bigger.
I mean, the wheels are the exact same size. Yeah, I've got a few different ones. What is that? Oh, it's a little better thing.
Alrighty, well, let's wrap this thing up, Jason. You need to do work on your layout.
Yeah, I need materials.
Amazing
All right, just for you, Steve. Just for you. I got you a slug bug. Yes.
Hey, before I had my 60 Ols, I had my dad let me drive his 63 black Volkswagen Bug. So that's what I actually was driving when I first got. You know how many people you can get in there and still drive?
Oh, I know, right?
I had 14.
I've got the microbus here somewhere too.
I had 14 people in that little slug bug right up till the point that the Downers Grove Police Department pulled me over. 2 weeks after getting my driver's license. I had a January birthday. I was the only kid in my class I was the first kid in my class to have a driver's license. So.
And this one, you can pull the hood up.
What's that one?
This is it's a taxi. Yeah, it's just a city
year?
cab.
Yeah,
but look.
What year? What year?
Oh,
What
man.
year? What year?
I don't know.
Looks like a 60s model.
It's a Ford.
Care what? I need to find some of those.
Oh, that is so hard to read. It just says TM, trademarked Ford.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would think this would be like
checkered and yellow cabs. That's what I
It says something on the side. Starts with the C.
Cab.
No, it's a longer word than that. It's like something and then 500.
A Galaxy 500? Sure it's not a G?
No, it's not a G because it definitely doesn't have a Y. I don't think I could get it on camera. It's right there, right above the front fender. It's just too blurry.
Looks like it's the mid-60s. Mid to late 60s.
Yeah, and that's going to be too modern for what I'm doing because I'm doing 1960. Like this one's too modern.
I'm like 65. 65, 66. I actually have some hoppers that are 66. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to do 1960. But these are all model. Some of these are model power. Hey, what's going on, Andy? So I'm probably going to have I don't know if I'm going to do like a yard sale and maybe sell, some of my vehicles and stuff, or.
I've got a bunch of stuff I need to put on the market. I've got the OC Union Pacific passenger cars. I got a couple of Walthers heavyweight Burlington cars. I got an Athearn Penske Observation.
There you go.
I need 2 auctions at the same time.
1975. I think that's a Gremlin.
Let's see. Yep.
Or a Pacer.
Pacer was rounded. Looked like a big fishbowl.
Okay. So it's probably
Gremlin was squared off. And a Gremlin had sides, the back sides between the back window and the back of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Did this. Had like a triangle of metal.
And see, I know this truck is too modern, but I probably won't get rid of it. On the sides of the doors, it says Pine Bluff Sand and Gravel Company.
A lot of truck cabs didn't change very much. I've got 2 gravel trucks that were probably newer than what my era is, but you can't tell it.
Yeah, but I don't think this fits like 50s.
No, it would have had a... Well, I'd be surprised. Look up some old 50s style pictures. Normally, I know what you're talking about. They'd be rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
more
hard. It is hard to find 50s and early 50s and early 60s vehicles.
Oh, here we go. This says Cicero, Illinois on it.
What is it? Show the picture. Ooh, yeah. That'd be perfect for me since
And
my engine shed over here is in Cicero, Berwyn, Cicero.
and you see how the front's more rounded?
Yes, and pointed.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's probably going to be more prototypical.
It is. But, you wouldn't have Cicero down in Arkansas, so send it up here, down here.
And this is a Mack. It's a Mack truck.
Yep.
But who's to say that they're not driving from Illinois?
They wouldn't drive gravel from Cicero to Arkansas.
I know that.
You could patch it with something else, though.
Now, see, this one definitely, I know, fits my era. I think this is another Ford.
Yeah, it looks like a Ford. That's the 50s.
Yeah, but it's a H.J. Heinz company.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a 57 on the side.
I've got, this one would fit in yours. But you didn't have, I don't think you had this kind of beer down in Arkansas.
What beer is it?
Stroh's.
I've heard of it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was my
So
favorite
what?
beer growing up.
I like a lot of the older vehicles. Here's another one. If I can pull it out, it's actually a tractor trailer. Well, I just took the trailer off.
I gotta dust mine.
Here we go. I think a Container Man would be appreciative of this one.
Oh, yeah. Now, I've got a couple 40-foot Burlington trailers on order.
This
They're
one
supposed to be-
is Roadway
supposed to be-
Express.
We're supposed to be doing it in January, and they still haven't, Walther still hasn't gotten them. Here you go. Unsafe at any speed.
And what's neat is the cover is removable and the inside is detailed. Like you can see all the boards and stuff, like where all the boards and stuff would be.
They got a road railer, Burlington, it's a 65 Ford.
That's pretty cool.
Trailers.
This one I'm not quite sure of. I think it would fit the era, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's an
This
old
one-
Ford.
You should have one of these on yours.
What is that?
It's a 54, I think a 54 Bill 88. Rocket 88.
I do not have one with. I wonder if that's the same one as my convertible over here. No,
I
it
got that
does
one.
not look the same. Let me get my earpiece back in so I can hear you. So, this one is a Chevy for sure. And if I could light this thing up, man, that would be awesome. But here we go.
Yeah, it's about 53. Somewhere in there.
This one reminds me a lot of the car on Grease that had the flames that come out of the back tailpipes.
Oh, yeah.
Or Back to the Future. And then this one, this guy actually decaled some Cotton Belt logos on it. So I actually bought this one to make it like a Cotton Belt yard truck.
Okay.
But I was like,
Yeah.
man, that totally fits too.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got quite a few cars. The one I was trying to show you, I don't know if this one fits or not, but it's the Postal Service truck. It's an old Ford, but I'm thinking that's probably more like 70s, 80s.
Turn it sideways. Let me see the cab a little bit more. That's 60-ish.
See, I need 50s.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be late '60s. I want. It looks like the same cab that would have been on a Econoline van,
Yeah, just about.
mid to late '60s ish.
And then I've got this produce truck. It's an old Ford as well. And that looks like that might work. I got to kind of do some research to see on some of these vehicles. Like,
Lee, you know me, 2 hours and I'm usually a wet noodle, and here we are approaching 3.
and so, like my little Ford that I made a volunteer fire, like not too much longer, I ended up finding this one.
Oh yeah, little panel truck.
Yeah,
That's nice.
it says emergency power, volunteer fire department.
Oh,
But that's an old Chevy, I know, on the front.
right. Looks like it.
But if I could get the beacon light to flash, like I'm gonna have to see if. Ooh,
So
this one is screwed in.
where do you find all your old ones?
The hobby shop.
Okay.
Uh,
Are they the? Most of mine are Oxford diecast or mini metals.
Okay. He's got a mix of everything. There we go. Oh god, that one's got a big piece.
I find the Oxford diecast are the most reasonably priced.
Here's another Mack truck. Erie Builders Concrete Company.
Ooh, I need one like that. I need a bunch like that. Where'd you get that?
Same place, and here. This is what's so cool. You can pivot this out.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Is that not neat?
If you find out the brand and name, let me know. 'Cause I'll run a search, see if I can find some. And
Okay.
I got my Hoffa cement. Do you know the significance of Hoffa cement, or are you too young to know that?
It doesn't have to do with Jimmy Hoffa.
Yes, yes. Okay. Rumored to be buried in cement at Meadowlands Stadium.
Yeah. And I came across this one. I thought this one was pretty cool. But I know this is definitely not prototypical, but it's a truck that is designed for the drag strip.
Oh yeah.
It's got a wheelie bar and parachute on the back.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, yep, that's a must.
Well, if you model the drag strip, or have a street race going on out in the country.
Yeah, I could do that. I got another one of those box trucks just like that, Postal Service, but it's a Coca-Cola.
Uh-huh.
Same style truck on the front.
Yeah, Ford Econoline truck.
Yeah, most of my cars and stuff are just too modern. And that's just before I was getting into, really anything particular.
I'm trying to find Chicago city buses and reasonable facsimile of like checkered and yellow cabs to go around my Union Station area.
So, like, here's a Chevy Impala, but I know that's more 70s.
Yeah. Now, Rapido's got a Chicago city bus. They want something like $60 for this thing.
Ooh,
No
Dang.
way.
that ain't cheap.
I don't know if it may be lit or something. I don't know, but I have a hard time trying to justify that kind of money.
Ah, I found it. So I showed you the Volkswagen car.
Uh-huh.
If you got a Volkswagen car, it's very adamant that you also have the microbus.
You got to have a microbus. That's right.
So
Absolutely.
I've got the microbus.
But it's not chartreuse.
So, and the camera doesn't really show it. Let me see if I can. There's a big silver VW logo on the front. Yeah, it's just the camera's not picking it up.
Now, if you had a real one of those that had the viewing windows around the top, you'd have some big bucks. The heck is that?
That's a removable roof.
Oh, yeah. The canvas roof.
Mm-hmm. And I think this one is supposed to have the viewing windows or just painted silver.
Oh,
It's
okay.
between the windows and the canvas.
Alright.
It's like little silver marks, but it's got the indentions that it's supposed to be windows. So, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think now my fire equipment. I know it's my tow truck's in date. Ooh, piece broke on it. I got to fix that.
I need to get a fire rescue truck and an ambulance to put at my Fairview station over here,
Mm-hmm.
and probably put red flashing lights on them, and put an emergency crew out by the tracks, because my childhood, people are always getting hit by trains there, and
Yeah.
when we got to be pre-teens, we'd go walk the tracks looking for. After the cleanup crews were supposedly done, we go walk the tracks and look for body parts, bone fragments, and all kinds of stuff.
So these are Walders, and I'll say Walders did a good job on these. Fire trucks. You can get them in the same color, and then they actually have them numbered differently.
Okay. I like the one that you're holding in your left hand.
This one?
Yeah, that one looks cool.
With the single strobe on the front?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one definitely fits the era. This one, I'm thinking, is just a little too modern. You know, because it's got a full light bar on the top, and
That's a
you know,
60s. Yeah, that light bar is 70s.
So,
Because if you recall, they still had globe type rotating
beacons like this one.
Yep.
So I might try to take that one apart. That one shows to be screwed together too. The ones that are riveted are the ones you just can't take apart.
Well, you can.
Yeah, but getting them back together is easier said than done. This one.
You found 3 for $18, Lynn? That's a good buy if they're in decent shape.
So if Rick Bailey's here, I might end up selling this one to him because this is definitely going to be too modern. But got a UPS truck. Now check this out. See the back door?
Yeah, is it open? Oh, it rolls up?
Rolls up, and look, it's got the racks and everything. It's fully die cast, and the front wheels pivot. This is pretty neat. I can't remember who made it, though.
You know, I've got some Erdl tractors, but they're not 187th.
Yeah. So, Rick, if you're in here,
sold. His son will love it.
I knew Rick would want that one for sure. But yeah, the rest of my cars and stuff in here are just a little too 60s, 70s.
It's still cheap, Lynn. You know, you're under $10 for 3 of them. Under $10 a piece. That's cheap. Cheap.
But this one I probably won't get rid of.
Oh, Train Fan.
Hey, Train Fan.
What is it? Oh, the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's late 70s.
And it's the T-top. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it is the T with the removable
Do they
tops.
remove?
No, this one don't, but you can see the indentions.
Yeah, okay.
So the old T-top. Yeah, I was gonna put in a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am scene on the old layout. If I could ever find the truck.
Always wanted a like 77 Cutlass Supreme with T-tops.
Okay, so here's another Chevy. I'm thinking this is a Bel Air. So I'll let you.
Let's see the top. It's late 50s, 1960-ish double headlights.
Yep, it's got double headlights. And it's even got 2 headlights in front of it, or under it, too.
Like it does not have wings, correct?
Small wings.
59 or 60.
Okay, so that one might work.
Either Bel Air or Impala. I forget which one. They both had some extremely similar body styles, if not identical.
This might be an Impala.
Kind of like the 88 and 98 and 1960 Oldsmobiles had identical bodies, just different options.
And I just love how they detail. Oh, shoot. You can't see it on camera. There we go.
The engine
Yes.
compartment, yeah.
I can see where like the heads are, the air intake manifold. But, okay, so the front is double headlight on the top, but right on the grill is another pair of headlights. And it's like double, 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 double.
4 headlights each side,
Yeah.
or are those running lights?
I don't know.
Because I don't think Chevy made anything with 4 on each side. It's got to be something else, part of the bumper or something.
Race cars. Yeah, I actually see all the race cars. I got 24, 88, 18, 11, and number 5. Yeah, that's another one I will not get rid of, is this one. For anyone who knows NASCAR, this one here was Mark Martin's last year when he raced in the Cup full time. And so, yeah, of course, he's the only racer from Arkansas. So that one I'll definitely not get rid of. But yeah, I was going to have a race car scene too, but that never happened.
Hey, you could have a road coming out of your forest, all right, and have some moonshine, running moonshine coming down through there with a.
Well, that's what this is
cop
for.
waiting behind the bill, yeah, with a cop waiting behind the billboard.
Yeah, see that's what this one's for.
There you go.
Now here's a pretty modern. See if you can guess what that is.
Let me see the side of it. Can't see real. It's not a Ford GT.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That is a Ford GT.
That was a great movie.
The last one the Le Mans one.
The one with Matt Damon, Ford
Yep.
versus Ferrari.
I do have a Shelby Cobra, so I saw that one posted. Let's see if I can grab it real quick.
You can still buy those Cobras. They're manufactured in South Africa.
Here you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
Shelby
that's not-
Cobra. Look
Never
on the
seen
back.
one like that.
Oh, the back's hard to tell. But that's a Cobra. Yep, Shelby Cobra Daytona Coupe. That one actually says it on the bottom. And then here's a 67 Mustang.
That's when they started getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah, what they call the fastbacks.
Fastback, yeah.
Yeah, my dad is a Mustang guy. I might give him all of my Mustangs. All of those. Let's see, I think this is another. Yeah, this is the other Cobra that I have. So I showed you the blue one. Here's this one.
Turn it sideways. Yeah, the ones I've seen are always been convertibles. But yeah, that one looks more to me like what I'm used to seeing.
Yep, and the exhaust is right here.
Right,
The exhaust pipes.
off the side.
Yeah. And on both sides at that. Now, I have seen the convertible ones. Someone's got one here that lives here.
Yeah, I've got a friend that's up in Lexington, Kentucky. It's got one, but his is relatively new. Well, now it's probably 10 years old, and it was built in South Africa.
1970 GTO.
All right.
So I am a geek for classic cars too. I mean, I love the 60s and 70s. Let's see. This one is another GTO, same car. I've got duplicates.
I had a buddy that had a 1970 GTO Judge, pearl white.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, I think it was hot.
All right, so this is a Ford Shelby GR1 concept.
Okay.
Pretty slick paint job on it. Of course, the chrome is like... Okay, I thought it was a GT, but the one angle made it look like a Cobra. Yeah. I guess he's talking about these two. These are Cobra Daytona coupes. They're both the same thing. The GT is this here. I mean, the back wheel is literally at the very back end of the car.
Yeah, the Shelby Cobras were more rounded, whereas the Ford Shelby GT was more of a wedge, squared off wedge shape.
Yeah, and I've got some more modern cars too. What is this one? This one is a Ferrari. So I've got a Ferrari as well. And that is a Ferrari F430 Challenge. That's what
It's funny how the new Vets look like the 60s era Ferraris, dyno Ferraris.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar lines.
So I think like I said, I've got some plain Jane cars in here as well that are not really worth showing. Like, I mean, a trash truck, you know.
Our disposal company in suburban Chicago is ROTS. ROTTS. And their slogan was satisfaction guaranteed or double your garbage back. And they had that plastered on their trucks. It was so funny.
Here we go. 1974, I think. I can't tell what the logo is on this. This is 1974 though.
Let me see the front, the top of the front. It's a GM. Yeah.
It don't say on the bottom.
I was gonna say, almost looks like a Nova or Eagle.
Don't know. But I did forget about this truck here. It's another Chevy. Or no, that's a Ford. It's a telephone truck.
What phone company? It's probably got a Bell logo on it.
It's got a Bell logo.
Yeah, it would have been in the 60s before they changed over to the beige with the stripes. They were like
I think it's just called Bell Telephone.
Yeah. Well, they were all. We had Illinois Bell. You had Michigan Bell. You had Southwestern Bell.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all of my cool stuff.
Yeah, I stand that too, man. It could have been a Nova. Yeah, don't rub it in, Lee.
I mean, I've got some cars here, like for Fast and Furious. You know.
Norman said Wiener apparently had a car theft ring.
Got a couple of Fast and Furious top Honda Civics.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here's another one right here. Same thing.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much my car collection. I got a few cop cars and stuff, but they're like, blah. They don't
I got
really
a 57. I got a 57 T-Bird.
I mean, even this one, which is really cool. Arkansas State Police, but that's more like 80s with the Caprice.
Chrysler 300.
Oh, that's cool.
Here's one for you. See if you can guess what this one is.
That's not a Fairlane, is it?
Nope. Give up?
Yeah, I give up. Go for it. What is it?
Edsel.
An Edsel. Okay.
Ford Edsel.
I was close. I was in the right.
You had a Ford. You got it?
I had four down, you know.
I thought this was a 57, Norman. The Opry window. 57 T-Bird.
Yeah, I don't have any T-Bird. Well, actually, I do have a T-Bird, but it's too modern of a T-Bird to go in the layout.
I got a bunch of different Ford and Chevy pickup trucks too.
Is it a T-Bird? No, this might be a Taurus. It might be a Taurus. It's a little too modern.
Yeah, that's a Taurus.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing I'll have to start looking into is finding more of the older vehicles because all my cop cars are Caprices, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work. You know.
I'm trying to think what else I have. Everything else of mine is way over on the other side.
I mean, even my school bus is too modern. You know.
Yeah. Although, for 50s.
Because, I mean, since I'm modeling 1960, you know, I need vehicles that are from like the 40s and the 50s.
And I need 50s and up to mid 60s.
Oh, I might have a few for you then. Maybe. But I know you want that one dump truck.
I want the cement mixer.
Well, I figured this was the one you wanted.
Yeah, I take that too. The Cicero. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would go good right here in Cicero. All right, let's even change.
I mean, it says Cicero. It says Cicero, Illinois on it.
Yeah, I'd put it right in this scene.
You're gonna make it look like that?
I could, or I could put it over at the gravel plant, Vulcan Materials, which was
That's what I'm saying. You could
southwest of Cicero.
Make it look like it just dumped a load.
Yeah, dump the load there at the engine facility.
So,
Andy, you had a 55 T-Bird and you sold it? Oh my God.
oh wow.
People would kill for one of those.
Man, I hope you ran that through the what's it called? Meacham auctions or something like that.
Hope you had armed security guards when they paid you.
It would only be in big bucks if it was in really good condition. If it was a rust bucket, then probably wouldn't be worth a whole lot, I would think.
Yeah, 55. If it was restorable, it would.
Yeah, if it's restorable.
I mean, something that old, you're going to need all new upholstery anyway. And a lot of your hoses, belts, bushings, motor mounts, all that kind of stuff. If they haven't been replaced already, probably would need it.
Yeah.
Okay. For an hour.
3 hours. Hey,
yeah,
you've only got an hour left, Steve. Only an hour.
I gotta go.
All right.
Go. All right,
bud,
everybody.
It was good.
Jason.
Good having me on here. I appreciate it.
I thank you for coming up and stimulating the chat. Lee, I've been on 3 hours, 14 minutes. Well, 3 hours and 15 minutes as of right.
Almost.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. You take care and have a safe remainder of the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, party
Bye.
on my channel. All right, bye.
Bye,
Y'all
everybody.
take care.